Again, it's a redskins.
What is going on, guys? Welcome back. In today's video, we're going to learn how to use a weather API in Python in order to get current information about the weather situation in a certain city. For example, New York, we can get information about the temperature, we can get information about the humidity, the time the sun rises and sets, and so on and so forth. So this is what we're going to do today. Let us get right into it. Alright, now for today's tutorial, we're going to make use of the OpenWeatherMap API, which means that we need to visit openweathermap.org and create a new account here. Without an account, we cannot get an API key, and without an API key, we cannot authorize a request, so we're not going to get any responses. Because of that, we need to create an account. Very simple process. Basically, if you're not logged in, on the top right here, you're going to see a sign in button or a sign up button. You click on it, you create an account. It's not rocket science. Once you have an account, you click on your account name, you go to My API Keys, and hopefully, if I don't forget it, this is now censored because you should not see My API key, but you should have one by default, so you don't need to generate one manually. However, if you want to, or if you have to for some reason, you can just generate a new key here as well. And this is what you're going to need in order to access the API. So you're going to have to use this in your Python script. If you're not recording a video and you're not sharing the code, you can just put this directly into your Python script. I put this in a text file and then loaded it in my code so that I don't have to show the key in the video. So you can see here in my development environment PyCharm that I have two files, the main.py file, which will contain all the program logic, and the API key text file, which contains the API key from the OpenWeatherMap API. And the first thing we want to do now in the script is we want to start by importing datetime as DT, and we also want to import requests. Now, requests is not part of the core Python stack, even though I claimed in a past video that it is. Because I thought it was, but it's not. So we need to install it by opening up a command line, cmd on Windows, the terminal on Linux and Mac, and then we type pip install requests, like that. Now, requests, we're going to use it obviously to send requests to the API, to get the responses, to use the responses, and so on. And the datetime module, the datetime library, is going to be used to take the timestamps, which are just numbers for sunrise and sunset, and convert them or parse them into a humanly readable format. That's the idea of that. And we're going to start by defining a couple of constants here, because we need to specify the URL that we're going to send requests to. And for that, we need to first know the base URL of the API. And this is http://api.openweathermap.org /data/2.5, I think this is the current version, /weather, and then question mark in order to be able to add a couple of more parameters. And those parameters are going to be the API key and the city that we're interested in. So the API key is whatever it is. In your case, you can just type it here if you don't have to share the code with anyone. Since I'm recording, I'm going to say open API key in reading mode, and then read the content of the file. And then the city is going to be finally, let's start with London. There you go. So the final URL is essentially just going to be URL equals the base URL, then plus app ID equals, this app ID is the API key, plus and, because we need to combine the parameters, Q equals, and Q is the city that we're looking for. So in order to send a request now, all we need to do is we need to say response equals requests.get URL, and we're going to turn this immediately into a JSON, so into a dictionary, and we can print the structure of the whole thing now to see what we're working with. And you can see here that we essentially have a dictionary with coordinates, key value pairs here basically. So coordinate is a key. Then we have another dictionary as a value. We have weather here. We have a bunch of different keys and values here. Interesting for us could be the weather description. So weather and then description is broken clouds in London right now. Then we have something like main here where we get the temperature in Kelvin. This is important because that is a standardized unit. We don't have Celsius or Fahrenheit. Then we also have like a minimum and a maximum temperature. We have a humidity in percent. We have wind speed. We have, what do we have here? From sys, we have the sunrise, sunset, and also the time zone. Time zone basically meaning how much do we need to add to this number to get the local time, because by default we get the London time. So if I change this now to New York, you're gonna see that we get a different time zone. Where is this? There you go. And this means that when we subtract 14,400 from that number, we're gonna get the local time in New York, because by default we always get the timestamp for the London time. So UTC, I think. So that is that. Now let's keep this simple here. We're just going to make a simple program that prints some information. And the first thing that is probably the most important one is the temperature. So the temperature in Kelvin is what we get here from the API. So I'm going to call this temp Kelvin. And actually, before we do that, I'm going to define a function that is going to allow us to convert Kelvin into Celsius and Fahrenheit. So Kelvin to Celsius and Fahrenheit given Kelvin is going to be return, or actually let's use variables for that. We're going to say Celsius is going to be, what was it? Kelvin minus 273.15. I think that's the definition. And then Fahrenheit is Celsius times 9 divided by 5 plus 32. Don't ask why. I don't know why Americans use this even. This makes a bit more sense. I don't know why Americans use Fahrenheit, to be honest. It's like arbitrary. But yeah. Okay, so we're going to return a tuple of Celsius and Fahrenheit. That's the basic idea of this function here. What's the problem here? Oh, yeah, duplicate, because I have this code prepared already. But essentially, this is going to just convert the unit. So we can say temp underscore Kelvin is equal to response, and it was located at main. And then, so the key was main, and then we had another dictionary, and inside of that, the key was temp. So this is going to be the Kelvin value, and now the temp Celsius. And the temp Fahrenheit is going to be Kelvin to Celsius, Fahrenheit, temp Kelvin. There you go. We're going to do the same thing with another one, so I can print again the response. And you're going to see that there is a value called inside of main. It's called feels like. And feels like is, I don't know how it's exactly determined, but this basically gives us a temperature, the temperature that it feels like to be in London right now, which is maybe not exactly the same as the actual temperature. So we're going to say feels underscore like underscore Kelvin, and that is going to be a response main, and then feels like, and then we're going to say feels like Celsius, feels like Fahrenheit is going to be equal to Kelvin to Celsius Fahrenheit, temp, actually not temp, sorry, feels like Kelvin. There you go. So that's it for the temperature. Now let's get to humidity. The humidity is essentially part of the temperature as far as I remember, or no, actually it's part of main as well. So we need to say response main humidity. And then we're going to say the description. This is the basically in words the description of the weather. So cloudy or not cloudy or sunny or whatever. Description is going to be a response. And this was now part of weather. And this, remember, this was a list of dictionaries, even though it only had one dictionary. So 0. And then we need to get the description. And then we have now the sunrise underscore time. And this is in response sys sunrise. And now in order to get the actual timestamp locally, now if you want to have the London time, you can have the London time. If you want to get the local time for sunrise, you add response time zone. And this also works for negative values, obviously, because if you add a negative value, you basically subtract a value. And all this now is a number, and in order to get the actual date time from that, you type dt datetime from timestamp, And I think we should use UTC from timestamp, because that's the UTC time by default. Or actually, do we? Yeah, this is how we do it, right? This is how I did it. Yeah. So then we copy that and we do the same thing for the sunset. And the sunset time is going to be the same thing, just that we replace this here by set. And last but not least, but maybe let's put this up here, we're going to get the wind speed as well, just as a nice fun fact. We're going to say response. Wind is its own dictionary, and it has the key value per speed. There you go. What's the problem here? Duplicate code fragment again, that's fine. Now we have all these values, and the only thing that we need to do is we need to print them nicely. So we can say, okay, print f string temperature in now city is temperature Celsius, point to F as the formatting here, and then degrees Celsius, or, and then temperature Fahrenheit, degree Fahrenheit. We can copy that. Temperature in city feels like, and then we can replace this with feels like Celsius, feels like Fahrenheit. Then actually let's copy this, or maybe that's too much. Let's copy this here. The next one is humidity in city, and here we only need humidity without a formatter, and this is not Celsius but percent. There you go. I think, yeah, I'm missing a quotation mark here. Then let's do the same thing with the wind speed, and this is gonna be wind speed, and I think it's in kilometers per hour. I'm not sure, maybe it's in meters per second. So I don't know. Actually, you can look that up. I think it's actually meters per second, isn't it? Don't you specify wind in meters per second? But maybe it's a different unit, so you can look that up if you want to. Now we can also get a general weather in city, and this is gonna be the description of the API, or from the API. So description like that. And then last but not least, what we're going to display is when the sun rises and the sun sets. So sun rises in city at, and then sunrise time local time, like that. And then we can copy that. Sun sets in city at sunset time local time. That should be it. Now if we run this, we can see here the formatting doesn't seem to have worked because we didn't do it. So point to F here as well. Don't forget this one here. Point to F. And now you can see, okay, we have in New York a temperature of 13.23 degrees Celsius. We have humidity of 64%. We have a wind speed of hopefully 2.57 meters per second, or kilometers per hour. I'm not sure what the unit here is. I think it's a metric system though, so I don't think that we use something like miles per hour. Yeah, then general weather in New York, clear sky. We can also change that now to something I can confirm because I am in Vienna. So I can tell you if that's true. Right now we have a temperature of 17.57 degrees Celsius, which seems to be kind of right. We have clear sky, which is also true. And we have a sunset at 18:13, which is in an hour and 13 minutes. So, or 12 minutes. So it should be right. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it seems like the sun will set in an hour. So this works, and this can also be combined, of course, with different videos on this channel. For example, I have a video on a virtual voice assistant. I have a video on a virtual assistant in general without voice, and this can be used, for example, to create a feature in that voice assistant, tell me the weather of my city, or tell me the weather of a different city. And then you can also specify some parameters, like maybe you want to get certain values not. Maybe you want to get a different time zone, and so on and so forth. but this is how you do API weather calls in Python. So that's it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed and hope you learned something. If so, let me know by hitting a like button and leaving a comment in the comment section down below. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell to not miss a single future video for free. Other than that, thank you much for watching. See you in the next video and bye.